Have you ever stood in front of a coffin or an urn and wondered, with a pain you could not put into words, whether this was really the end, whether you could still do anything at all for the person you loved? And have you ever sat at a ritual or a memorial, listening to chanting and watching incense smoke rise, secretly asking yourself which of these things actually helped the departed, and which are only comforting the living for a little while? Welcome back to the channel, my friend. I am really glad you are here for this conversation, because today's topic carries both deep tenderness and sharp honesty. We are going to walk into a question that almost every human heart meets sooner or later after a loved one dies. What can we really do for them? In a way that is not just symbolic, not just emotional anesthesia, but truly helpful at the level of cause and effect, karma, and awakening. The original article that we are expanding today revolves around 3 burning questions that many great teachers have answered over and over. First, if a person has already taken rebirth somewhere else, is there still any point in doing rituals or chanting for them? Second, as ordinary people with no obvious spiritual attainment, are our prayers and recitations really effective? Or does it only count when a great master does it? Third, if many years have passed since a loved one died, is it already too late to help them in any meaningful way? Behind these questions lies a deeper rate. We do not want love to become completely helpless in the face of death. We do not want the bond between hearts to be cut absolutely by a last breath. Even if the body is gone, we want to believe there is some way for our care, our prayers, our goodness to continue reaching them. In this long, story-filled, video-style sharing, I want to walk beside you through this tender territory. We will look at how spiritual traditions, especially the teachings on karma, rebirth, and pure realms, understand death. We will look at what transferring merit really means. We will tell stories of people who tried different ways of helping their departed relatives, some clumsy, some wise. And we will see what seemed to open doors and what kept hearts stuck. Most of all, we will keep returning to a central theme: true, effective spiritual support for the dead is not about how complicated the ritual is, how expensive the ceremony, or how famous the teacher. It is about the quality of heart, the clarity of understanding, and the continuity of practice behind what you do. Let us start from the beginning, in a very simple, human place. Imagine a dim funeral hall, white flowers, low chanting from a speaker, the faint smell of incense, people in black clothing, some crying out loud, some staring blankly, some going through motions they do not fully understand, because this is how it is done. In the middle of all this, there is you. You are standing in front of the photo of someone who once laughed with you, scolded you, held your hand, cooked meals, sent messages, maybe also hurt you, maybe also misunderstood you, but in any case, shared a real piece of your life. You hold a stick of incense between your fingers. You bow, and inside your chest, there is a storm of questions. Are you still there? Somewhere? Can you see me now? Do you know that I am sorry? That I am grateful? That I miss you? Does it matter that I am standing here? Or is everything already fixed? As if the movie of your destiny has already ended and I am only watching after the screen has gone dark? Maybe relatives around you are debating where to hold the funeral, which temple to invite, which ritual package to buy, how many days of chanting should be arranged. People might say, the more we do, the better it is for them. Others might snap, all of this is just business. In this noise, you might feel very lost. Traditions tell us to do merit for the deceased, chant sutras, recite holy names, offer lamps, give to charity, support monastics, release captive animals, do acts of kindness and dedicate the merit to them. But deep down you might be thinking, how does this actually work? Is there some invisible account where these things are stored? Does my loved one really receive any of this? Or am I just soothing myself? To answer this, we first need to look at how spiritual teachings view death itself. In many materialistic views, death is a full stop. The body ceases. Consciousness is seen as a by-product of brain chemistry. And when the body stops, consciousness disappears completely. In that view, the only thing you can do for the dead is remember them, keep their name alive, maybe support causes they cared about. But there is no idea of directly benefiting their ongoing existence, because there is no ongoing existence. The teachings we are drawing from paint a very different picture. They say death is not annihilation, it is transition. It is like moving houses or changing clothes. The physical body wears out and is dropped, but the continuum of consciousness, sometimes called the subtle mind or the awareness stream, continues. This awareness stream is not random. It is shaped moment by intentions, actions, and habits. Every thought, word, and deed plants seeds in this stream. When the body dies, those seeds do not vanish. They travel with the consciousness into whatever realm or life is most strongly connected to them. So when we say someone has died, it is more accurate, from this perspective, to say that they have left this visible body and moved into another phase of their journey. The love, fear, greed, kindness, confusion, clarity, and vows they cultivated while alive do not simply evaporate. They keep shaping where they go and how they experience their new state. If we see it this way, the question becomes much more subtle. We are not asking, can we help a person whose story has ended? We are asking, can we offer energy, merit, blessings to the ongoing stream of consciousness that used to be our father, mother, partner, child, friend? Imagine that someone you love moves to another country. You cannot see them directly. The time zones are different. Communication is limited, but you can still send money, care packages, and messages. Sometimes the transfer is quick. Sometimes it is delayed. Sometimes it is rerouted. But as long as you know their account, you can still send. Spiritual teachings say that the subtle mind of your loved one has not disappeared. It has simply changed address. When you dedicate merit, you are, in a way, sending support through the vast, mysterious banking system of karma. You may not know their current street, but you and they are connected by the deep account of shared causes, debts, and love. That invisible account is what we call karmic connection. Now let us bring in the first big question. If they have already taken rebirth, is it still useful to dedicate merit to them? Many people imagine that after a certain day, maybe after 40-9 days or 1 year, the soul is completely gone and will no longer receive anything. They worry, if I did not do enough right after they died, now it is hopeless. But if you understand that the consciousness stream continues, things look different. Picture your loved one as a traveler who has already boarded a train and is on their way to a new city. In the first hours after boarding, they are still near the station. It is easier to pass things to them. Someone can run along the platform and hand them an extra bag through the window. That is like the period immediately after death, especially the intermediate state described in some teachings. when consciousness has not yet fully anchored in a new life. In that period, guidance, chanting, and dedicated merit can have a very direct influence. It is like giving a flashlight, a map, and extra food to a traveler who is about to cross a dark mountain. But even after they have arrived in a new city, even after they have started a new life, your support is not useless. You may no longer be able to run right beside the train, but you can send support through the banking system. In karmic terms, even if your loved one has already taken a new birth, the merit you create and sincerely dedicate to them can still function as supportive conditions for that new life. It can show up as unexpected help when they are in danger, as someone lending a hand when they are lost, as sudden opportunities, as inner strength when things are hard, as inclinations toward goodness and wisdom they themselves may not fully understand. The original article gives the example of elders who, every year, do rituals for their departed relatives. Even though decades have passed, they do not sit there calculating, have they already taken rebirth? Is this still efficient? They simply act from deep filial piety and compassion, trusting that their sincerity will find its way. We can think of this in terms of energy. When you, motivated by love and gratitude, perform good deeds and turn that goodness towards someone, you are sending a wave into the field of reality with their name written on it. Because you and they are karmic ally linked, that wave has a natural tendency to flow into their stream. It might not help them in the way you imagine, but it will help somewhere along their unfolding path. So the first answer is no. It is not too late just because they may have taken rebirth. The form of your help changes. The timing of its effects is uncertain, but true merit, created with a clear and compassionate heart, is never wasted. Now we turn to the second big question. Does it matter who does the chanting or the ritual? Are the prayers of an ordinary person like you or me worth anything? Or is it only real when a great master, a famous teacher, or a monastic with a high title performs the ceremony? To explore this, let us bring in a very simple analogy with money. If you hold a genuine banknote in your hand, its value does not depend on whether a rich person or a poor person uses it. 100 units of currency spent by a billionaire and 100 units spent by someone who has almost nothing are still the same 100 units. The bank does not say, because you are poor, this money is worth less. In the same way, the teachings say that the words of a sacred text, the name of a Buddha, the sound of a mantra, do not change their intrinsic power based on whose mouth they pass through. These words are like spiritual currency backed by the vast compassion and vows of awakened beings. They carry a certain purchasing power in the karmic economy, no matter who recites them. What changes is not the inherent power of the words, but the conditions through which that power is expressed. Imagine two people both holding a lamp. One lamp is clean, the glass polished, the oil pure. The other lamp is covered in dust, the wick too short, the oil mixed with water. When both light their lamps, the same fire principle is there, but one burns brighter than the other. Your mind, your intention, your level of concentration and faith are like the lamp around the sacred words. I highly realized Master has a mind that is steady, concentrated, and deeply connected to the essence of those words. Their lamp is naturally bright when they chant. The power of the Buddha's name or the sutra's content is reflected clearly. An ordinary person, distracted and half-minded-hearted, may recite in a more scattered way. Their lamp flickers. The same sacred words pass by, but the brightness is not as strong. However, here comes the part that should give you real encouragement. You do not need a perfect lamp for there to be real light. Even a small, flickering flame in the darkness is already precious. The teachings repeatedly emphasize that what matters is sincerity, uncorrect understanding. If you, as a son or daughter, as a spouse, as a friend, stand by your loved one's body or photo with a heart full of love, humility, and trust, and you recite the name of Amitabha Buddha, or the Heart Sutra, or another holy text, dedicating it wholeheartedly, that has real effect. It is not a performance. It is not a magic spell. It is an act of tuning your heart to a higher frequency of compassion and wisdom, and then offering that resonance to the one who is passed. In some ways, your recitation may even reach them more intimately than that of a distant master, because the karmic bond between you and them is so strong. A teacher once said, "The tears of a child chanting for their parent can carry more power than the cold recitation of someone who has no connection." Of course, this does not mean inviting great masters or monastics is useless. On the contrary, when you combine the focused chanting of practitioners with the sincere participation of relatives, the field of merit is multiplied. It is like joining many bright lamps together in one room. The problem arises when families think, as long as we pay money for a big ritual done by others, we do not need to do anything ourselves. We can just sit in the back playing with our phones while the monks chant up front. In that case, they are outsourcing not only the ritual, but also their own heart. The ceremony becomes a transaction, not an act of shared compassion. A huge part of the possible benefit is lost. So if you ask, as an ordinary person, can I really help? The answer is a clear yes. Your recitation is not a cheap imitation. It is a real offering. Especially when you try your best to be present, to visualize, to call your loved one's name gently in your heart and invite them to join in the remembrance of the Buddhas. Let us now talk about the third big question: what if many years have passed? Is there any point in starting now? This question often comes with a heavy flavor of regret. Perhaps you were very young when a parent or grandparent died. At the time, you did not understand anything about rituals, karma, or merit. You cried, attended the funeral, and then tried to get on with life. Only later, as you learned more about spiritual practice, did you realize, I could have done more. I could have chanted, donated, or at least made heartfelt wishes. Maybe every year when their death anniversary comes, you feel a mixture of grief and guilt. You might think, it has been 10 years, 20 years, they must have gone far away. Even if I start now, is it not too late? To answer this, we go back to the image of a river. Karmic connections are like rivers flowing through time. They may seem to disappear underground, but they do not vanish. They reappear in different landscapes. The person you once called mother might now be someone else's child, struggling in a difficult neighborhood. The person you once called father might now be living in a body with a different language, working in a different city. You may not recognize them physically, but the deep currents of connection still exist. When you do good deeds and sincerely offer the merit to all beings who have ever been my mothers and fathers in any life, especially those I remember by name in this life, you are pouring pure water into those underground rivers. Eventually, it reaches them. Is it as direct and immediate as doing rituals right after they die? Probably not. But does that mean it is useless? Not at all. Think of someone who owed you money long ago and finally, after many years, decides to repay it. Even if the timing is late, the repayment still helps your life now. In the same way, if you did not know how to generate merit for your loved one right after their passing, But you now awaken to this possibility and begin to act. It is like starting to pay back or pay forward in a long karmic relationship. It does make a difference. There is another layer here that is often forgotten. By doing sincere practice and dedication now, you are not only helping them in their current state, you are also shaping the conditions for your future meetings. If your bond with that soul is strong, it is likely that your paths will cross again, in this life or in a future one. By purifying and strengthening the karmic connection through good deeds and prayers now, you are making it more likely that your future encounters will be in supportive, uplifting forms, not in toxic or painful ones. Imagine meeting your former father again in another life, but this time as a mentor who helps you, or as a child whom you can guide. Is that impossible? From a karmic perspective, it is very possible, and what you do now plays a role in how that story unfolds. So again, the answer is no. It is not too late. As long as you are alive and capable of thinking, acting, and praying, you can create fresh causes and conditions that will benefit the ones you love across time and space. Now that we have answered these three conceptual questions, let us get very practical. What does effective spiritual support for the dead look like in real life? Let us imagine two families, both grieving the loss of a parent. In the first family, grief expresses itself as frantic activity mixed with fear. They are terrified that if they do not do everything, the parent will suffer in some terrible place. They shop around for the most expensive ritual package. They invite different groups to chant, sometimes overlapping, without really understanding what each is doing. They burn huge amounts of paper offerings, thinking that we must send as much as possible. During rituals, half the family is on their phones, chatting, unscrolling, while the hired chanters go through the texts. At meals, people gossip and argue about inheritance or old grudges, sometimes even in the same hall where the coffin stands. Their fear and confusion are understandable, but there is little calm, little clarity, little actual inner connection with the departed. The whole thing becomes a noisy, expensive storm that leaves everyone exhausted and empty. In the second family, things unfold differently. They also mourn deeply. They also cry. But someone in the family has a bit of understanding about spiritual practice. They gather everyone and say, "We will invite practitioners to chant, but we must also participate, not just pay." Even if you cannot read the text, you can sit, listen, and keep bringing your mind back when it wanders. They choose rituals based not on price and grandeur, but on clarity, recitations, and teachings that guide the consciousness of the departed toward light, compassion, and liberation. They arrange for offerings to be made to monastics or to the poor in the name of their parent, with the intention that the joy and relief of those recipients become a support for the parent's journey. They avoid turning the funeral into a place of gossip or conflict. If old issues arise, they gently postpone them, saying, "We will talk about this later. For now, let us give our full heart to helping them go in peace." They do cry, but they also restrain excessive wailing that might cling and pull. When they feel overwhelmed, they quietly repeat a Buddha's name or a mantra, both to stabilize their own minds and to send a clear signal of guiding light to the departing consciousness. After the funeral, they do not simply move on and forget. On certain days, especially around the 7th, 20-1st, 40-9th, and yearly anniversaries, they gather to chant, to light lamps, to do acts of kindness and dedicate them. Even in ordinary days, when something good happens in their lives, they quietly say in their heart, May this merit also go to you. Which family do you think is sending more real help? The second family's actions may cost less money, involve fewer dramatic rituals, and attract less attention, but they are deeply rooted in wisdom and love. Their mind is engaged. Their actions are aligned with understanding. Their grief is being transformed into a path. This is the key difference between ritual as habit and ritual as practice. Effective spiritual support has several ingredients, and you can remember them as a kind of inner recipe. First, faith and trust, not blind superstition, but a grounded confidence that the continuum of consciousness continues, that there are awakened beings whose vows and compassion can respond, and that your sincere connection with them matters. Second, correct view, understanding that death is transition, that karma is real, that your own thoughts and actions at this time influence not only the departed but also your own future. Third, sincere intention, doing everything not just to appear filial or to impress relatives, but from a genuine wish that the departed be freed from fear, confusion, and lower states, that they meet guides and opportunities for awakening, that their suffering be eased. Fourth, right method, choosing practices that align with wisdom, chanting holy names or sutras, listening to teachings, making offerings, doing acts of charity, rather than focusing only on symbolic gestures that may calm the living but do little for the dead. Fifth, continuity, not treating the funeral as the only chance, but continuing to remember and dedicate long after the flowers have withered. Let us tell a few more specific stories to see these points in action. There was a man named Thomas who lost his father suddenly to a heart attack. They had a complicated relationship, full of unspoken love and unresolved tension. As a child, Thomas felt his father was harsh and distant. As an adult, he moved away, spoke only occasionally, and secretly carried both resentment and longing. When his father died, Thomas felt shock, guilt, and a deep ache. At the funeral, he looked at the photo on the altar and thought, "I never really told you that I was grateful. I never really said that I understood how hard your life was." He arranged for a standard ceremony with chanting and offerings, but he felt that just paying for this was not enough. He found himself sitting late at night in front of the photo, candles burning quiet, whispering, "If you can hear me, I am sorry for my stubbornness. Thank you for all you did that I did not see back then. I hope you can go somewhere peaceful." A few weeks later, he attended a talk on how to help the dead. He heard, for the first time, that reciting holy names and dedicating them regularly, and living in a way that transforms old grudges into compassion, are powerful ways of supporting the departed. So he decided to make a simple commitment. Every evening, before going to bed, he would sit for 10 minutes, recite a sacred name, and then dedicate whatever goodness came from that to his father and to all departed beings. And in his daily life, whenever he felt himself repeating his father's harsh tone with others, he would stop and soften, saying inwardly, "May this soften something in both of us." Across time, he kept this up not for days, but for years. Sometimes he forgot, sometimes he skipped, but he kept coming back. One night, long after the funeral, he had a dream. In the dream, his father appeared younger, with clear eyes, no longer tired and rigid. He did not say much. He simply looked at Thomas with a calm expression and nodded, as if to say, "I know. It is okay." Was this just a psychological projection? A wish fulfillment? Perhaps. But Thomas woke up with a lightness he had never felt before. The heavy stone in his chest had shifted. From that day, his dedication became even more sincere, now joined with gratitude instead of only remorse. Whether the dream was a direct communication or not, the important thing is that by taking responsibility for his own heart and turning his grief into practice, Thomas had changed the karmic story between them. He had moved from "I can do nothing, it is too late" to "I can, right now, create causes that benefit us both." Another story is that of an elderly woman named Elena. Her only daughter died in a car accident. The pain was almost unbearable. For a long time, Elena could not eat, could not sleep. She would sit by the window, clutching her daughter's photo, whispering her name over and over. One day, a neighbor who followed spiritual teachings visited her. He did not begin with doctrine. He simply sat and listened to her cry. Then, very gently, he said, "Your love for your daughter is very deep. Right now that love is tangled with a lot of clinging and despair. Would you be willing to try transforming a little piece of this love into a path that supports her?" She looked at him with tired eyes. "What can I possibly do? She is gone." He explained to her the idea of reciting a Buddha's name and dedicating it, of doing acts of kindness in her daughter's name. He did not promise miracles. He did not say, "If you do this, she will definitely be reborn in a pure land," because nobody can make that guarantee. He simply said, "This is a way to continue loving her in a form that actually helps, instead of only tearing you apart." At first, Elena was reluctant. Her pain was so raw that any mention of letting go felt like betrayal. But the neighbor reassured her, "This is not about forcing yourself not to cry. It is about giving your tears a direction." So she began. Every morning, she lit a candle in front of her daughter's photo, placed a simple cup of water there, and recited the name of a Buddha a few hundred times, with the wish, "May you be free from fear. May you meet kind guides. May you be drawn toward places and teachers of light." Every month, she bought a small bag of food and quietly gave it to someone in need, silently thinking, "Please, accept this in honor of my child. May the joy you feel support her wherever she is." At first, she cried through most of the recitation, but this was okay. Her tears washed through each sound. Over time, something shifted. Her sorrow did not disappear. How could it? In others' love does not vanish, but the sorrow became less like a sharp knife and more like a deep river. It still flowed, but it also carried a sense of purpose. She later said, "I feel like I am still walking with her, but now we are walking not only through memories, but also through the path of practice." This is one of the most important transformations that effective spiritual support brings. It turns helpless grief into active compassion. It gives the heart something meaningful to do, instead of only bleeding. Up to this point, we have talked a lot about helping the dead, but in a profound way. Everything we have described is also helping the living. When you chant, dedicate, and do good deeds for a departed person, you are at the same time purifying your own negative karma, deepening your own connection with wisdom, and training your own mind in letting go, compassion, and trust. In fact, many teachers say that the best gift you can give to your dead relatives is not just rituals after they die, but your steady commitment to live well now. Think about it. If you really want your parents to be at peace, is it more helpful to spend huge amounts of money on a lavish funeral while continuing to live a life full of anger, addiction, selfishness, and cruelty? Or is it more helpful to learn from their strengths and mistakes, to transform the unhealthy patterns you inherited, and to live in a way that increases kindness, wisdom, and peace in your family line? From a karmic point of view, every time you break a destructive pattern that has been running in your family for generations, you are liberating not only yourself, but also your ancestors and your future descendants. For example, if rage has been passed from father to son to grandson, and you are the one who says, "It stops with me. I will learn to process this anger instead of passing it on," you are doing a form of spiritual offering that no temple can replace. If addiction has haunted your family and you seek help, heal, and then help others, you are freeing not only your own karma, but the tangled energies of your ancestral stream. If ignorance and superstition have led your relatives to harm animals or exploit others, and you choose a different way based on compassion and understanding, you are changing the direction of the river. Seen this way, spiritual support for the dead is not a one-week event around a funeral. It is a lifelong way of living that honors the past by transforming the present. Now let us answer one more subtle question that many people secretly hold. What if my relationship with the departed was not simple love, but mixed with hurt? What if they abused me, neglected me, or caused profound trauma? Do I still have to do rituals for them? This is not an easy question. No one should be pressured into performing hypocritical actions that only reopen wounds. If you have been deeply hurt by a parent or partner who has passed, your first responsibility is to your own healing. It may be that for a while, the most compassionate thing you can do is to simply acknowledge, "I am not ready to do anything for you. My heart is still too raw." Even that honesty already prevents you from acting out a hollow ritual while secretly burning inside. Over time, as you work through your trauma, you might reach a place where you can see them with more complexity, not only as a monster, but as a damaged human who themselves were shaped by ignorance, pain, and the karma of their own ancestors. Maybe then, without denying the harm they caused, you might feel moved to do some kind of practice, not out of obligation, but from a wish to end the cycle. In this case, spiritual support becomes an act of higher compassion. I do not excuse what you did. I do not forget it. But I also do not want you to sink deeper into darkness, because that darkness will keep overflowing into other lives. For the sake of everyone, including the future beings who might meet you, I wish for your awakening. Such an attitude is rare and heroic. It cannot be faked. If you are not there yet, it is okay. Just know that the path exists. As we near the end of this long reflection, let us gently gather the threads. Death is not a full stop. It is a comma in the long sentence of consciousness. It is a doorway between rooms. Behind that doorway, your loved ones continue their journey according to their karma, their habits, their fears, their loves. You cannot storm that doorway and drag them to where you want. You cannot buy their liberation with money alone. You cannot undo all their past seeds in one night with a single ritual. But you are not powerless. You can create real merit by reciting holy names or texts with sincerity, by doing acts of generosity and kindness, by supporting practitioners and communities that spread wisdom, by transforming your own habits and character. You can educate that merit to them regularly, trusting that within the vast web of cause and effect, it will reach the stream of consciousness that was once your mother, your father, your child, your friend. You can participate actively in rituals instead of outsourcing everything, allowing your grief and love to deepen your own understanding of impermanence, karma, and compassion. You can continue this support long after the funeral is over, turning remembrance days into opportunities for practice rather than only for drinking or crying. You can honor them by living in a way that reduces suffering and increases awakening. thus changing the karmic climate in which both you and they are swimming. Most importantly, you can let your heart be softened, not hardened, by the experience of loss. Our culture often treats death as something to be hidden, hurried through, and then distracted away from. But when you accompany someone through their death, and then continue to support them spiritually, your own understanding of life becomes more mature. You realize viscerally that everything you cling to will eventually slip away, that every harsh word you speak may be the last they hear, that every kindness counts more than you knew. This realization does not need to make you anxious. It can make you tender. It can make you more present with the people who are still here. It can make you more careful with your thoughts, knowing that they plant seeds not only in your own future, but in the futures of those around you. You begin to live with a quiet reverence. You eat, work, laugh, argue, and rest with the awareness that this moment will never come again, and that the way you handle this moment is already shaping the worlds to come. I want to leave you with a few invitations as a friend on this path. First, if there is someone you love who has already passed, take a moment after listening to this to sit quietly and speak to them in your heart. You do not need fancy words. You can simply say, "I remember you. I thank you. I am sorry for where I failed you. I wish for your peace and awakening." Then, if you know a sacred name or short prayer, recite it a few times and dedicate it to them. Second, if you have parents or elders who are still alive, let this be a reminder that the best time to express love, gratitude, and reconciliation is now, before the body falls. Do not wait until you stand in front of a coffin full of if only. Every call, every gentle conversation, every attempt to understand instead of judge, is already a form of spiritual support. Third, if you are dealing with fresh grief and feel lost about what to do, remember that you do not need to do everything at once. Start with a simple, sustainable practice, maybe lighting a small lamport and a leech evening for a month, reciting a short prayer, and dedicating it. As your strength returns, you can add more. And finally, remember that you are not alone in this. Every human who has ever lived has walked through the valley of bereavement. Great sages and simple villagers alike have stood where you stand, asking, "What can I still do?" The methods we discussed today did not appear out of nowhere. They are distilled from centuries of collective searching, suffering, practice, and realization. If this sharing has touched you, if it has given you even one useful perspective or one practical step, I warmly invite you to share your own story in the comments. Have you ever done recitations, rituals, or acts of kindness for someone who died? Did anything happen, inside or outside, that made you feel they somehow received it? Have you ever felt comfort or a sense of connection through dedicating merit, even after many years? Or are you right now in the messy middle of grief, unsure what to believe, but wanting to love in a way that truly helps? Write what you feel called to write. Your words might be the very thing another grieving heart needs to read tonight. If you would like more long, gentle, and honest conversations like this about awakening, wisdom, cause and effect, compassion, practice, destiny, and the many ways we grow through pain, please support this channel. You can subscribe so you do not miss future videos. Press like if this helped you. Leave a comment to let me know you are here. And share this with someone who might be silently carrying the same questions. If you feel moved to go further, you can also consider becoming a member or supporting in other ways. so that we can keep building this space where deep human topics are treated with tenderness and clarity, not with fear and avoidance. Thank you, from my heart, for staying with me all the way to the end of this fourth article. May your departed loved ones find peace, guidance, and opportunities for awakening wherever they are now. May your own heart, through loving and letting go, grow wider, softer, and more luminous. And may the way you live from this moment on become the most beautiful offering you could possibly make to both the dead and the living. Life gets noisy. Work, stress, expectations. Sometimes we lose touch with the quiet part of ourselves. Bracelet isn't just an accessory. It's a small reminder that you deserve peace. You deserve moments of stillness. You deserve to hold on to your inner balance. If one of these bracelets speaks to your heart, you'll find the purchase link in the description below. And even more auctions available on our channel's shop page. Pick home the one that feels right.